Welcome back. In this video, I'm exploring the topic of love scenes, specifically whether teen authors should be writing them at all. Let's get into it. This Valentine's Day, I'm releasing a two-part series on love scenes to celebrate the occasion. The only problem is the content isn't suitable for the under 18 crowd. But I didn't want teen viewers to feel left out, so I put this video together. It should have enough to be worthwhile without mobs of angry parents hunting me down in the streets. Before we get too deep into this, I need to acknowledge something. This video won't be as nuanced as my 18 plus video. I'm afraid that's unavoidable since my more nuanced content is for the 18 plus users only. I'm sorry if that makes it feel like I'm holding back from you, but I kind of am. All I can say is the full content will still be here and waiting for you when you're ready. But for now, let's do this. Should teen writers write love scenes? The short answer is no. No, you shouldn't. This isn't because you're teens. I give the same advice to the adults in my 18 plus content. There's a lot that can go wrong in love scenes, even from experienced authors. I can't get into all the gory details with you, but here are some of the highlights. One problem is attachment issues. This is where the author has certain issues with sexuality. These issues attach themselves to the writer, hence the name, and drive the writing. There's nothing wrong with that in your own personal library. If writing about these things helps you to deal with certain subjects in your life, who am I to stand in the way? The problem comes when we produce work for consumption by others. When we produce work for others, we need to take their feelings into account. We can't just dump our issues on our audience. We need to have a certain level of detachment from our love scenes before we can write them. This is often easier said than done, and even experienced authors can write cringy scenes. Editors find it difficult to deal with authors who write such passion scenes. They get so engrossed in the scene they think they're writing, they can't see the cringe they're actually producing. We need a level of detachment from our scenes, especially the love scenes, or else we shouldn't even write them. Remember, the pen isn't a coach, and your reader isn't a therapist. The audience doesn't want to hear your issues. You may write a manual. Your scenes, even love scenes, should always be about character and plot development. When done well, love scenes can be a great way to do both. But in the hands of an inexperienced author, we can get something that reads more like an instruction manual. New authors tend to focus on the mechanics of the act. Anyone old enough to read one of these scenes has a pretty good idea how things work in the first place. They don't need you to go through the motions with them. They expect more, especially in literary writing. Your most extreme scenes are what you'll be known for. It can be hard to know where and when to place a love scene. There are certain points in the plot where one will fit, but you need to know where. If you choose wrong, you risk putting a dirty mark on your story. If you place them too early or too frequently, that's what readers will come to expect from your work. It doesn't matter what other message you might be trying to convey. Your audience will consume your work for the frequent carnal feasts you set before them. I can't get too deep in this video, but I can give you an example from another area of writing. In the book version of Jurassic Park, there's a scene where a raptor kills Dr. Wu by ripping into his stomach. It's brutal and graphic, but brief, restrained, and proves a point. It demonstrates the power these creatures wield and the danger they pose. But if every scene had been of victims begging for mercy as dinosaurs ripped them to pieces, it would have set a very different tone. That is what the book would have been known for. We can see a similar scene in the movie when the character of Donald Gennaro, also known as the blood-sucking lawyer, is eaten by the T-Rex. It's brutal, but also brief and restrained. As in the book, it demonstrates the power of these creatures without going too far. Plus, it was kinda fun seeing a T-Rex eat a lawyer on a toilet. Just saying. Beyond all that, they just aren't necessary. I can count on one hand the number of love scenes I've seen that were necessary for the plot of any book or movie. I can count on 2 or 3 fingers the number of scenes that were well done, and I can count on one finger the number of love scenes that deserve to be called actual love scenes. I go into that in my 18 plus video, but I'm sorry I won't go into it here. The reality is that most books, movies, and TV shows can chug along just fine without them. It's my opinion that in most cases, not all, but most, a love scene is a crutch for an inexperienced writer. I don't mean to talk down, and I don't mean to condescend. I really don't. But as a teen, we must acknowledge a certain lack of experience on your part. There are some things you can only learn from a lifetime of living life. How to express the complexity of adult relationships is one of them. I'm not trying to speak into your experience, but when I was 16, I didn't know anything about the adult world I was about to step into. I thought I did, but I didn't. For example, I wanted a girlfriend, but I didn't know what that meant. To my 16-year-old male brain, a girlfriend was a warm body to hang off my arm and giggle at all my stupid jokes. I wasn't alone. The other boys in my class were even worse. To them, a girl was an object of pleasure. That a girl was also an intelligent, emotional being with thoughts and desires of her own wasn't even on the radar. If I had tried to write a love scene with that mindset, it would have resulted in award-winning levels of cringe. There are some things you can't write about until you have experience. Love scenes are one of them. I realize this video isn't what you may have anticipated, and I hope you don't feel dejected by my advice. As I've said, my 18+ videos are much more nuanced, but I gave them the same advice I just gave you. I'm not giving you any different advice, just more age-appropriate advice. I wish I could go into full detail with you, but it's not appropriate for me to give you that content right now. My advice to you is to keep writing. Write about everything and lots of it. Learn the craft. Put your work out there for critique. Focus on developing good structure and characters. Someday you may decide to include love scenes in your work. When you do, bring everything you've learned in your years of study to bear on them. And when you're ready, my full articles and videos will be here waiting for you. Good writing, and Calamus Gladio Fortior.